Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and hello I bid to our biology lecturer Dr. Iziana binti Kamal Bahrain and my fellow friends. So my name is Muhammad Ahmad bin Shahruddin and my metric number is AS12140. Today we group 9 will present about the community and ecosystem ecology. So the outline for the topic 45.1 Ecology of Community. First, to recognize the features of a biological community and species richness. Second, describe the factors that define an organism's ecological niche within its community. And third, identify how the interaction among species organisms in a community. So, what is a community? So, a community is an assemblage of population of a different species interacting with one another within the same environment. For example, we can see at the picture here, this is what assemblage of population of different species interacting with one another at the same environment. So, there are two characteristics in community structure, which is first, species richness, and second, species diversity. So species richness is a listing of various species in the community. The greater the species richness and more even the distribution in ecology, so the greater the species diversity. So for species diversity includes both species richness and the relative abundance of the different species. So this is a community structure. As we can see at both pictures, there is two type of forest, which is first is coniferous forest and second is tropical rainforest. So as we can see in our naked eyes, there are between these two forests there has a difference between the composition. So the narrow leaf evergreen trees are prominent in coniferous tree, and broadleaf evergreen trees are numerous in a tropical rainforest. So in coniferous forest, there are squirrel, moose, snowshoe hare, bear, red fox, and wolf for their mammal. For tropical rainforest, their mammal consists of king kajo, monkey, anteater, jaguar, tapir, bat, and sloth. So the communities differ in their composition, as we witnessed by the predominance plants and animals. So, to conclude, the diversity of community is described by their richness of species and their relative abundance. Let's move on to community interaction between habitat and ecological niche. So, habitat is a particular place or area where organisms live and reproduce. The habitat might be the forest floor, a swift stream, or the seashore, while the ecological niche is a role a species play in its community. This includes the method of a species used to meet energy, nutrient, and survival demand. So, for example, there is a dragonfly larva that its habitat is a pond or lake. So, this is due to eats other insect at the pond or lake. So the pond also must contain vegetation where the dragonfly larva can hide from its predators such as fish and bird. In addition, the water also must be clear for it to see its prey and warm enough for it to be in active pursuit. So this species niche is determined by both abiotic factors, for example such as climate and habitat, while biotic factors is such as competitive parasite and predators. So this ecological niche can be distinguished by two niche, which is realized niche and fundamental niche. Realized niche is when adverse biotic conditions are present, which is competitors, parasite, and predator. For fundamental niche is when adverse biotic conditions are absent. This example is a climate or habitat. So to conclude from this is fundamental niche is larger than realized niche. So next, my friend will continue for this presentation. Thank you.
Hi, I am Nur Ayuni and I will continue this presentation. So, I will talk about the competition between population that is divided into two, which is competitive exclusion principle and character displacement. Competitive exclusion principle is when two species competing for the same limited resources and cannot exist at a constant value population. This will lead to research passioning, which is needs specialization and less needs overlap. As you can see here, there are 5 species of bird that live at the different stages of tree. So they do not have to compete for the same type of food. Next is character displacement. Character displacement is a term used to describe the changes occur when the similar species inhabit the same environment. This will lead to divergence in characteristics. As you can see here, when there are 3 similar species of bird inhabit the same island, they will develop divergence in characteristics. So the first bird will have small beak, the second bird will have a medium beak, and the third bird will have large beak. This will prevent them from competing for the same food resources. Divergence in characteristics will minimize the competition between the birds. Next, prey is animal that feeds on the prey. Decreasing in the prey population will lead to decreasing in the predator population, as the predator and prey will depend on each other. As you can see here, increasing in the prey will increase in the predator as their food resources increases. And when increasing in the predator will lead to decreasing in prey because many prey will getting killed by the predator. Next is parasitism. Parasitism is an animal that causes harm to the host. Parasite is an animal that lay their larvae inside a host and eventually will kill the host. The example is Hymenoptera wasp. Next, I will talk about the prey defenses. The first prey defenses tactic is camouflage. Camouflage is a tactic where the animal will distinguish themselves by blending in with the environment. This will help the prey avoid being detected by the predator. Next is warning coloration. Warning coloration is totally different than camouflage, as warning coloration will make the animal pop up from the environment. This will Warning coloration will make the animal visible to the predator so that the predator will remember the animal and will avoid this animal. Next is structure or starter response. The example of animal that use this kind of mechanism is lanternfly. Next is spine or thorn. Spine or thorn is applied by the hedgehog. So when the hedgehog enters a state of panic, it will extend the spine for the protection. So the predator will stay away from the hedgehog. Next is chemical defenses that apply by the skunk. Chemical defenses are substances that utilized by prey to reduce their predation risk. These chemicals include toxic and venomous substances that will either harm or prevent detection by predator. Next is flocking behavior by the starling bird. Flocking will help the birds to defend themselves against the predator as they can look in all directions to see for any threats. In fact, the predator also have the difficulties to choose their target when the birds are flying together. Next is protective armor by armadillo. Hard protective armor will help the armadillo to survive the predation and harsh environment. And lastly, I will talk about the tail or appendages that break off by lizard. This kind of mechanism is known as a self-amputation. Lizard was born with line of weaknesses at their tail. So when that line is being hit or stressed, the muscle and the line will pull away from each other. The pulling apart of the muscle will cause the tail to break off from the lizard. so the lizard can run away from the predator. I think that's all from me. Next, Alisa will continue this presentation.
Thank you, Ayuni. My name is Alisa, and now I will continue to present about anti-predator defenses. There are many types of strategy to avoid capture by a predator. The first one is camouflage. Camouflage is the ability to blend with its background. We can see that the flounder blends in with its background, so the predator can see it. The second one is warning colorization. This strategy can warn the predator that they are dangerous. You can see that the poison arrow frogs have the skin secretions that make them too dangerous to touch. And the third one is fright or false head. For the example, South American lanternfly has a large false head and false eyes that may startle a potential predator because they resemble the head of the alligator. There are also another common strategy. For the example, a school of fish and a flock of birds stick together as a protection against predator. And now we will continue to learn about mimicry. What is mimicry? Mimicry is happen when one species resembles another species. There are two types of mimicry. First is Batesian mimicry and second is Mullerian mimicry. Batesian mimicry is the mimic that lacks defense of the organism it resembles, while for Mullerian mimicry is mimic that shares a protective defense with other species. The example of Batesian mimicry is the scarlet king snake mimic eastern coral snake. The another example for the Batesian mimics is flowerfly and longhorn beetle. Both of them mimics the yellow jacket webs, but they can't sting. Now we will see the example for the Mullerian mimicry. Yellow jacket webs and bumblebee are the Mullerian mimicry because both of them have the same appearance and they can sting. Now we will move to symbiotic relationships. Symbiosis is a close association between two different species over a long period of time. There are three types of symbiosis. First is parasitism, second is commensalism, and the third one is mutualism. As we learn from the primary school and secondary school, parasitism is when one of the species causes some harm to the other but doesn't attempt to kill it. There are two types of parasitism. First is endoparasites. Endoparasites is a small parasite such as heartworm. And the second one is ectoparasites. Ectoparasites is a big parasite such as leeches. The second one is commensalism. Commensalism is when one species is benefited and the other is neither benefited nor harmed. They turn out to be mutualism or parasitism. And the third one is mutualism. Mutualism is when both of the members get the benefit. They often help each other to obtain food or avoid the predator. Next, I will show you the video about symbiosis made by us, and after this video, Afifa will continue the presentation.
Hello guys, we will see the example of symbiosis parasitism. There are two types of parasitism, which is ectoparasites and endoparasites. Ectoparasites live outside the host, while endoparasites live inside the host. Ectoparasites that live in dog is fleas and ticks, while endoparasites is heartworm, which can cause heart disease, and hookworms, which can cause anemia. The next one is commensalism. Sharks and remoras. These suckerfish are hitching a ride with a bass-sized shark. Remoras have a special symbiotic relationship with all sharks. They get food scraps and protection, while the shark stays parasite-free. Clearly, these two fish have feelings for each other. The last one is mutualism. Butterflies and flowers. Butterflies generally like to eat sweet juice or nectar on flowers. Flowers as reproductive organs in plants are helped because these beautiful insects help spread pollen. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and thank you!
Hi guys, we meet again, and before that I'm going to thank Alisa for the great presentation that she just presented to you guys. Okay, in this move on to the subtopic 45.2, which is community development. In this subtopic we're able to choose the correct sequences of events that occurs during ecological successions, and the second one is we're able to compare the two types of ecological succession. Is ecological succession. Ecological succession is a change within a community involving a series of species replacements. And what is primary succession? Primary succession is the formation of soil from exposed rock due to wind, water, and biotic factors. And this occurs in areas where there is no base soil at all, such as volcanic eruptions or glacial retreat. Okay, move on to this picture, which is the primary successions in occur at Alaska. The first one is rock or lichen stage. It's lichens and mosses that invade the area that left vacant by the retreating glacier. As you can see in here, this is the lichen on top of the rock. And the next is shrub stage, which is there is small bushes that grow in the newly abundant soil like this. As you can see, this is the shrub, and the species that grow in here, one of the example is Trias plant. And then move on to the lower tree stage, which is the fast growing older trees help build the soil nutrients and water content. And the last stage is high tree stage, as it's the process of improving soil conditions to allow the spruce western hemlock community to develop. And all of this stage is the one of the example of primary successions, as retreated glacial occurred in the area called Glacier Bay in Alaska. Okay, move on to the secondary successions. What is secondary successions? Secondary successions is a disturbance-based successions, which there is progressive change from grasses to shrubs to a mixture of shrubs and trees. This occurs where soil is already present, as when a cultivated field returns to natural state. As you can see in here, it's the differences between the secondary successions and primary successions is the primary successions is there no base soil at all, and the secondary successions is where the soil is already present. Okay, as you can see in here, this is the picture of secondary successions that starts with first species, also known as pioneer species. In this picture, the pioneer species is the grasses, and then grasses will provide better conditions of soil to development of low shrubs, and then the low shrubs will develop into high shrubs, and then it's continue to develop to shrub or tree mix, also continue to become low trees, high trees, and last one is climate community. Okay, this is the last slide of these presentations, which I'm going to explain more about pioneer species and climate community. Pioneer species is the first producers to inhabit a community after a disturbance, and is the first species begin secondary successions. And it all starts with small short-lived species like grasses, and then develop become stages of species of mixed sizes and lifespans like shrub or tree mix, and finally become large, long-lived species of trees predominate. And move on to climax community, which is F.E. Clements, which is a person, hypothesized that succession in particular area always lead to mature and stable community known as climax community. And he also hypothesized that climate will determine whether the successions resulted in a desert, grassland, or forest. That's all from us. Thank you for listening to our presentations and have a great day today. Assalamualaikum.